Hey guys, so today we are going to cut ourselves some oregano and dry it, and we're also going to dry some tomato skins at the same time. Now, when you're drying oregano, you want temperatures in your dehydrator to run between 95 and 125 degrees max, and tomato skins normally you would do about 135 degrees. But tomato skins take a lot longer to do than oregano, so what we will do is run the dehydrator at a lower temp for the oregano, and then once they're done, pull it out and then put or turn the heat up so that the tomato skins can finish out. Now, you're probably wondering what's the deal with the tomato skins, right? So, a great way to preserve your tomatoes is freezing them whole, or almost whole. You want to core them first. But what I used to run into all the time was I didn't have time to get my canning done. You know, working full time and tomatoes would be ripe and I'd pick them and put them in a basket, but I wouldn't feel like doing it when I came home from work. And of course, tomatoes aren't going to only be ripe on the weekends or on your vacation days. So I'd always have tomatoes that would go bad. I'd lose a lot, you know, sitting around waiting to be canned. So we started washing them off, coring them, putting them in a freezer bag, and then as you have time, pull the bag or multiple bags and can them as needed. Or even not canning, you can just leave them in the freezer till you're ready to make chili, soup, whatever. Take them out in time to thaw them out, and then the skins slide right off of the tomato. You don't have to do that pre-boil and stuff that you normally would have to do to remove the skins and do all that peeling. Once they thaw, and especially if they've been cored first, skin slides right off. We used to throw the tomato skins in the compost pile, but you can actually grind them down or dehydrate them and then grind them down into a powder, and it's a great seasoning for soups and chilies and really anything where you'd want to beef up your tomato flavor. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, this originally was going to be solely a video just on the oregano, but I figured I'd combine the two. So right now we're going to go cut ourselves some oregano, and then we'll get the stuff in the dehydrator and get it going. So let's go do that. Okay, so I know that you're probably looking at this and saying, I don't really see a whole lot of oregano going on there, Todd. Well, there isn't. But I wanted to save this bit that I had before it goes to seed. It's getting pretty close to getting tall and going to seed here. This is a old dilapidated herb box where last year I grew cilantro and oregano. In fact, here's a little one cilantro that came back up. But most of it I haven't done anything with this year because I want to redo it. And I just haven't had time to get that far yet. But there was still some stuff sprouting up in here. And this oregano that's mixed all through here has actually been growing here for 3 years and keeps coming back. I did plant some more in one of the raised beds just in case something happened to this as I'm moving the box and rebuilding it and whatnot. So I didn't want to be without oregano. So really, we're just going to trim this back and work our way around the plant here because I've got, I don't know, some wild grapevines, different grasses. There's all kinds of goofy stuff going on here. In fact, I think this grapevine's going to give me a little issue. I'm going to have to make sure I don't get this in with the oregano when I'm drying it. So, it's crazy how all these different random plants spring up over time. I've got random mulberry trees and wild grapes and wild strawberries and wild blackberries, wild black raspberries. They pop up all over the property from birds dropping seeds, you know, over time. Anyway, so let's get focused on the oregano here. I've been looking at this for the past week and a half, and I keep saying, oh, I need to get out there and get the oregano before it all gets too big and goes to seed and I lose it. And then I go do something else and I forget. So finally this morning I was like, all right, today's the day. Especially since Mitzi is making a big pot of homemade spaghetti sauce with our frozen tomatoes from last year, from ones that I didn't can that were still in the freezer. And one thing with, freezing tomatoes that's great is that it does make it easy and convenient. However, if your freezer goes out, then you can lose your crop. So we did have our first year that we lived here and put in our first big garden. We had harvested all kinds of like green beans and corn. We had the best corn that year, and peppers, and I don't remember what else was in there. We weren't freezing tomatoes yet, but we had a freezer full of produce from our garden. And my dad had stopped by, and we were talking, and in the middle of it, Mitzi was cooking and asked me to go down and get some vegetables out of the freezer to put in whatever she was making. And I go down the basement, and we had a chest freezer that we had gotten. A neighbor lady had given it to us. She had never used it. It was actually still in the box, so it had never been used. We'd only had it for maybe, 5 months at that point. Anyway, go down the basement, open it up, getting ready to get the frozen goods. It had died, and everything in the freezer was bad. Like it had probably, maybe the compressor died or something like the week before. And so everything was starting to get that not so frozen smell anymore. And we lost everything that was in there. It was very disappointing. So when you are freezing stuff, you do always can run into that. Or even if just, if you lose electricity, if it's normally a good freezer is good probably for a day or two if it's kept closed, if you're just losing electricity. But just something to think about when you're freezing stuff. But freezing tomatoes for short periods of time, just to preserve it till you got time to can, it's awesome. You save all that crop or you don't have to worry about rushing around when you get home from work and spend, until 10, 11 o'clock at night canning after work hours. And then the added benefit of having those skins that just slide right off the tomatoes is pretty amazing. Okay, so there wasn't a lot in there, but we got enough to dry. It's a pretty decent amount, and it smells so good. It smells of summer, man, with summer herbs, especially oregano and sweet basil. I always have sweet basil growing in with my tomatoes. Just like, even if I didn't eat basil, just going up and you rub the leaves and you get that smell going, the oils. Oh, just delicious. But yeah, this smells really good. So much better than when you're purchasing stuff in a grocery store that may have traveled for thousands of miles and you don't know how old it is. When you can just walk right out, cut something out of your garden, or even if it's just a pot on your balcony, it's definitely worth it. So let's go dry these and some tomato skins. Get ourselves some herby stuff going on. Okay, so I rinsed off the oregano and I've got it on the trays in here. You can maybe see that. Got it on the trays here in the dehydrator. Now I said earlier on the intro that we were going to mix these with the tomato skins, but I ended up having more of the oregano and we have more of the tomato skins than I thought, so we're going to do them separate because the oregano should take a lot less time than the tomato skins. The oregano takes probably about 5 to 6 hours, tomato skins take about 12 hours. So we'll put the tomato skins in this evening and I'll show you that as well. And then just let them run overnight. So I did rinse off the oregano and just make sure there was no bugs or dust on it. And now we're gonna go ahead and get it going here in the dehydrator. Okay, so it's been actually 6.5 hours at 115 degrees and the oregano is done. I put them in a little bit longer because I included the stems. If you are not, if you're just doing the leaves and not including the stems, you can do them for less time. They're pretty crispy. So we're going to get these in a jar and then we are going to put in our tomato skins. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling the leaves off of the stems into a little funnel. See that? To feed them into the jar. Okay, so now that the oregano is done, we've got everything loaded up with the tomato skins. Let's go ahead and show you one of these here. And we are going to dry these at 135 degrees. I think it's supposed to be like 10 to 12 hours, so, but we'll see how quickly they dry out. They are pretty wet, but they're also pretty thin. So we'll check back when these are done. Okay, so our mater skins now been in for 12 hours and they're really crispy. You kind of hear that? So we will grind them up into powder now. Alright, so this is our NutriBullet full of tomato skins. It actually filled it all the way up, which I wasn't expecting. I still don't expect to get very much powder out of this at all. So let's see what type of volume we end up with. Okay, so we've finished up our oregano and our tomato powder. We actually ended up getting more tomato powder than I thought that we would. This is a 3.5 ounce jar, and I don't know, we probably got almost maybe 2.75 ounces in there from those little bit of skins. And there was 2 or 3 skins that maybe the moisture content was a little too high or something. I might have had them bunched up too much and not spread out enough on the tray when I was drying them, but they were still a little moist when I took them out, and so I did not include those in this jar of powder. I ate those. They're very tasty, very sweet. So, you know, save your tomato skins, dry them, you get a nice tomato powder. It's pretty awesome. Oregano, I'm back up to about 3/4 of a jar, so I'm happy about that, and I'll still have more to harvest and dry throughout the summer. And you may have noticed that when I was doing the drying that I kept them on the stems. You can take them off the stems and just dry the leaves and get rid of the stems if you want. I was afraid that they would fall through the racks because I don't have the silicone trays or whatever to keep stuff from falling through. So I went ahead and just did the stems and everything. And then I end up with, this is just the stems themselves. I'm saving these. You can use these in other types of recipes. If you're doing like a stuffed chicken, stuffed Cornish game hen, stuffed quail, stuffed pheasant, whatever else you might want to stuff with some herbs and whatnot that you're including some oregano, You can tie a few of these in a bundle and put them inside the bird's cavity for adding some oregano flavor to your bird. Or if you're vegetarian, or even if you're not vegetarian, if you're just making like a vegetable stock where you put the different things like in a cheesecloth, like the different herbs, add some stems. They still will impart a lot of oregano flavor, and that way you're using the whole part of the plant, because normally you would toss these because you don't want to just eat them, they're kind of tough. But just to get the flavor out, you use them for that. So there you have it, drying your oregano and saving and drying your tomato skins. Hope you try it out. Let us know how it goes and what kind of recipes that you use these in. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with the tomato powder. So hope you're having a great day. Thanks for stopping by and checking out our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and if you click on the little bell at the top of the screen, I think it's actually on this side. Last time I was saying on this side. I think it's on this side at the top of your screen. That will let you know that we have uploaded new content, and you won't miss any of all this cool stuff that you can learn, or just whatever, So again, hope you're having a great day. Namaste.